It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices. Joanne Rowling. This story was never meant to unfold, but tragedy often strikes when teenagers mimic adult lives without understanding the responsibilities that come with them. They embrace the pleasures of adulthood while ignoring its challenges, and sometimes the consequences are devastating. On March 19, 2013, a police officer responded to a routine call, only to stumble upon a scene of horror. 2-year-old Austin Smith lay motionless in bed, his small body covered in bruises and blood. There were no signs of life. Austin was rushed to the hospital, where frantic attempts were made to save him. He wasn't in his own home, nor was he surrounded by parents or guardians. The only family nearby was his 2-month-old brother, helpless and equally abandoned. The case unfolded in the small village of Springville, Erie County, in the state of New York. It began when 16-year-old Dylan Schumaker and 16-year-old Ashley Smith started spending time together. Both teenagers were battling their own struggles, which may have drawn them to each other. Ashley, at just 17 years old, had become a mother after an affair that resulted in the birth of her son, Austin. Dylan, on the other hand, had been dealing with significant challenges of his own. Diagnosed with anger management issues and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, he often found himself in trouble. His struggles escalated when he became addicted to illegal substances, ultimately leading to his placement in a rehabilitation center. Their relationship was volatile and unpredictable, marked by heated arguments, frequent breakups, and reconciliations. Yet, when Dylan returned from rehab, he appeared to be on a better path. He adhered to his prescribed medication regimen, which helped stabilize his mood and behavior. His demeanor became calmer, and he re-enrolled in school, where he began to perform well academically. Dylan and Ashley rekindled their relationship, and by the time Dylan was 16, Ashley had given birth to a son, Christopher, whom Dylan regarded as his own. By February 2013, Ashley and her children were living with her father and stepmother. It was during this time that her parents found an unused condom in Ashley's bed. Perhaps Ashley's father could have taken a lighter approach to the situation, realizing that his daughter was at least considering birth control. But on that particular day, emotions ran high, and the confrontation escalated into a heated argument. In the end, Ashley's father threatened to kick her and the children out of the house. When Dylan found out what had happened, he asked his mother for permission to let Ashley and the children move in with them. Dylan's mother, who had already come to love Christopher as her grandson, agreed, though the whole situation was deeply unsettling for her. A young woman, still recovering from childbirth, was now being forced out with a newborn and a toddler in the dead of winter. In February 2013, Ashley and her children moved in with Dylan and his mother. Ashley found a job at a nearby pizzeria, working evening shifts while Dylan's mother helped care for the children. While Dylan was at school, Ashley took care of the household and the children. When she went to work, Dylan watched over Christopher, while Austin typically stayed with his biological father or Ashley's aunt. On some days, Dylan found himself caring for both children at once. Tensions continued to mount between Dylan and Ashley, and on March 18, 2013, they had another heated argument. It all started when Ashley jokingly asked Dylan why he was texting another girl. Dylan's reaction was swift and angry. Emotions escalated quickly, and in a fit of rage, he locked himself and Christopher in the bedroom. Ashley, furious, pulled on the door and threatened to call the police. In a sudden burst of defiance, Dylan opened the door and retaliated with a shocking threat. If she called the authorities, he would accuse her of sexually abusing a minor. The situation quickly spiraled further out of control. Ashley shoved Dylan with a pillow, and in response, Dylan violently threw her onto the bed, sending her crashing into Christopher's toys. He then angrily ordered her to leave. After the altercation, Dylan spoke with a neighbor, expressing his frustrations. In a moment of bitterness, he used foul language when referring to Austin. Dylan also confessed that he disliked Austin, feeling that Ashley spoiled him and indulged his every whim. As the evening wore on, Dylan and Ashley exchanged several text messages about their relationship. The conversation reached its peak when Dylan demanded that Ashley leave his house by the end of the week. It was March 19th. The next morning, as Dylan was preparing for school, he and Ashley had another discussion. He reiterated his demand that she move out. Ashley pleaded for a little more time, as she was expecting her income tax refund. While Dylan was in class, Ashley stayed home with Austin and Christopher. She sent Dylan a message saying that she would take the day off from work. However, Dylan texted back, offering to watch the children so Ashley could go to work as planned. Later that afternoon, Ashley began getting ready for her shift and left the house around 4:20 p.m. Dylan remained at home with the kids. According to Dylan's final confession, the events that followed unfolded as such. After Ashley left, Austin, who had been sleeping, woke up and, in a tragic accident, fell down the stairs, injuring his face and mouth. Dylan helped him up, wiped away the blood, and gave him some milk. He then informed Ashley about the fall. According to him, he turned on cartoons for Austin to keep him occupied while he texted on his phone. During this time, Dylan sent numerous text messages, attempted to sell illegal substances to friends, and exchanged intimate messages with a minor girl. When he tried to feed Austin, the child, due to his injury, spat out the food and reportedly started cursing. Enraged, Dylan struck him in the face and forced him to swallow the food. Later, while changing Austin's diaper, Dylan grew frustrated with the toddler's resistance, and in a fit of anger, threw him roughly onto the wooden floor, causing him to hit his head. Dylan later confessed that he began beating the child for reasons he couldn't explain, even placing a pillow over Austin's face and pummeling his head. Afterward, Austin became lethargic and sleepy, so Dylan shook him to prevent him from falling asleep before the scheduled time. After putting Austin to bed, Dylan initially thought the child was fine. However, 5 minutes later, when he checked again, he saw that Austin was breathing erratically, sweating heavily, his eyes half closed, and blood was trickling from his lip. The child was unresponsive. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Dylan called his mother, who was at home. At 8:20 p.m., he called 911 and notified Ashley, instructing her to return immediately. Before the police and medics arrived, Dylan confessed to his mother that he had hurt Austin in a fit of irritation. The first police officer to arrive on the scene found Austin in a bedroom on the second floor. The child was lying motionless in bed, blood dripping from his mouth, large bruises on his face, and his pupils dilated. There was no detectable pulse. Meanwhile, the other two officers found Dylan on the porch, where they overheard him speaking to his mother. "Oh my God, she's going to kill me. I can't believe I did this. Oh my God, I didn't mean for this to happen." The first officer on the scene, Deputy Ben Pisa, attempted to perform CPR on Austin until the ambulance arrived, but his efforts were in vain. Afterward, he wrapped the lifeless child in a blanket, carried him outside, and placed him in the ambulance. Meanwhile, police officers began questioning Dylan about the events leading to Austin's injuries. Dylan lied, stating that Austin had simply fallen down the stairs and appeared fine initially, with the problems only arising after the child fell asleep. Despite his attempts to stay calm, Dylan appeared anxious, inconsistent, and suspicious in his statements. As a result, he was placed in a police car and taken to the station for further questioning. When Ashley returned home, she saw Austin being loaded into the ambulance. The medics wouldn't allow her to accompany her son, so she hurriedly gathered her belongings and rushed to the hospital. Upon arrival at the hospital, Ashley was met with the devastating news: her son had died. Meanwhile, at the police station, Dylan was informed of Austin's death, but continued to stick to his fabricated story, claiming that Austin had merely fallen and gotten sick afterward. Detectives, unconvinced by his explanation, informed him that an autopsy would be performed, and the truth would eventually be revealed. At this point, Dylan reluctantly admitted that he had hurt Austin out of frustration. However, he downplayed the severity of his actions, still attempting to minimize his guilt. The detectives, still skeptical, reminded him that the autopsy would expose the true cause of death. Faced with the undeniable truth, Dylan finally confessed to the full extent of his actions, acknowledging his responsibility for Austin's death. Dylan described in detail how he had shaken, beaten, thrown, and punched the defenseless child. After his confession, he was arrested. The result of little Austin's autopsy was chilling and extensive, with the findings being absolutely shocking. It revealed multiple injuries to the head and neck caused by violent blows, as well as signs of shaking, and the child's head being forcefully slammed against the floor. The cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head, which led to the severing of long nerve fibers in the brain due to the displacement and rotation of the brain within the skull. The nature of the injuries clearly indicated intentional violence. These injuries were incompatible with life and could not have been caused by a simple fall down the stairs. DNA testing further confirmed that Dylan was not Christopher's biological father. Dylan's sister, Alex, was in profound shock over her brother's actions. She struggled to reconcile the person she knew with the man who had caused such harm.
Actually, after he got a rehab, and then, I don't know, he got 2 kids dumped on him out of nowhere, and he just snapped.
The trial began in 2013. Dylan and his attorneys sought the mildest possible sentence, 15 years in prison with the possibility of early release, arguing that he lacked experience in dealing with children and had unresolved anger management issues. During the trial, Dylan cried in front of the jury, assuring them that he had never intended to kill Austin. He claimed he didn't even believe he had the physical strength to do so. He expressed what appeared to be sincere remorse and deep regret for his actions. He acknowledged some intent in his actions, but insisted he couldn't accurately recall the exact sequence of events.
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Actually, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him. I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin. I loved him.
Dylan attributed his rage solely to his desire to discipline Austin, despite his lack of skill and experience with children. He also mentioned using a pillow, claiming he thought it would cushion the blows and protect the toddler. However, during the trial, shocking details emerged from a phone conversation Dylan had with his mother, which had been monitored and recorded while he was in prison. In the conversation, Dylan cynically remarked that as a 16-year-old blonde boy, all he had to do was cry in front of the jury, and they would take pity on him. This revelation deeply disturbed the judge, who commented on it during the court proceedings, emphasizing the manipulation in Dylan's statement.
The record will show that you admitted that on July 23, 2013, in a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated, and I got a quote from the court reporter, "I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me," end quote.
On December 9, 2013, the jury found Dylan Schumaker, who had turned 17 by that time, guilty of second-degree murder for the tragic death of Austin Smith. The court heard how a young life was senselessly lost, and despite the emotional pleas and remorse Dylan showed during the trial, the severity of his actions was undeniable. On January 10, 2014, during sentencing, Supreme Court Justice William Baller condemned Dylan's actions, describing him as a manipulator and a liar. He emphasized that while Dylan may have shown some remorse, his repeated deceit and lack of responsibility for his violent actions could not be overlooked. The sentence was initially 25 years in prison, but later, the New York Court of Appeals reduced it to 18 years after an appeal by Dylan's legal team, arguing for a lesser sentence due to his age and possible rehabilitation. This reduction in sentence was met with mixed reactions, as many felt it did not adequately reflect the gravity of what Dylan had done. The court acknowledged his youth at the time of the crime, but the damage done to a helpless child was irreversible. When Dylan Schumaker is eventually released from prison, he will still be a young man, capable of rebuilding his future. But Austin Smith, who should have been enjoying the innocence of childhood, will never have that opportunity. Austin's future was stolen in an instant. and his memory will forever serve as a reminder of how easily life can be taken away. Rest in peace, little Angel Austin. Your story will never be forgotten. I just wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for watching this video until the end. Your continued support means everything to me and drives me to keep bringing you new and impactful investigations. Please feel free to share your thoughts on this case in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more. Together, we can keep shedding light on important stories, remembering those who have been wronged, and ensuring that justice is never forgotten.